Hey everybody, Dr. Mike Houston here. How are you? As promised, I have another iconic bodybuilder and promoter and all-around good guy, a man of consummate generosity here with us tonight. I'll say a few things about him. You know, I had Dave Liberman on one of my older interview shows, which was kind of all written, and then some of you know that I switched over to a radio show on YouTube, and now we do these fun podcasts. So I've been really lucky. I get people of very, very high stature, and really what we're all about here, as you know, one of our forums that we extract from is the bodybuilding and fitness world. But we also have some professional athletes, some NFL, Hollywood people, big time business icons. And listen, they're no better than anyone. But one of our modes here that we go forth upon is people who exceeded themselves in one venue, then go on to be even more successful in a tangential way from that. And so a lot of our people, in other words, we don't want someone necessarily who's only flexing their entire lives. There's nothing necessarily bad about that. But really, when you extend yourself beyond that, you want to help others. And I think Dave is perfect picture of that. In the Midwest, Dave is very well known. I ran these promos all week, and a lot of people chimed in, and they want to come. And there'll be no haranguing or swearing because we don't have any of that because we're nothing but happy. Those were the old days, and that's how you get kicked off YouTube. But he's very well known in the confines of the Midwest, Ohio area, Chicagoland, where I went to school. We're going to talk about a lot of things, how he started, a little younger than me, not much, but he started in the days where if you were a bodybuilder, you were disparaged, the coaches didn't like you and all that. So he had to fight through that, and he had some parental resistance, and he competed with, among many bodybuilders who became the best ever. I hope some of them chime in tonight. And then he became one hell of a fantastic promoter, and anybody who has not promoted a show ever, not necessarily suggesting you do. I've done it for a long time with Mike Katz and Jerry Mastrangelo here in Connecticut. Listen, one of the hardest things you could do is go on stage. A lot of competitors are listening. Hey, John Defendis is there. He says, Big Davey. That's John Defendis in the house there, Dave.
Right.
What was I saying? I'm catching myself. Oh, to get on stage, take your clothes off under unforgiving lights. It's very hard to throw a pose and have people clap for you. That's how hard it is. So one of Dave's roles in his team is to set it up so the athletes, all they have to do is show up and get on stage and look fantastic. And there's a ton of work that not only does Dave complete all the work, he goes well beyond what is necessary. And you don't find that much. So I'll define Dave as a fantastic, iconic bodybuilder, a great promoter, but really a man who extends himself through generosity, which is almost non-pareil. And we're going to talk all about that. So Dave, now you got a lot to live up to after all that blowing up.
Mike, thank you for that. First off, Mike, thanks for having me. I do appreciate it. I remember the article 5 years ago, so very kind of you. And I'm happy to talk about all things bodybuilding and my upcoming events and all the craziness we have to do to get through to get these events going off the ground. And we are going to have a contest. Our next one's March 27th in the Cleveland, Ohio area. And
hey Dave, make sure you push the dates. Keep mentioning them because people, some just don't know. The only time I interrupt you is when somebody has something to say. So John Defender says you're an awesome bodybuilder and a great promoter. A bunch of hellos from a bunch of people. Hi everyone. And then Don Adams. Maybe we'll get to this later, Don. How does one become a promoter? I'm curious as to how this occurs. Thank you in advance. That is in advance. Don will answer that in a little while. I will not forget. And Pete Ash says there's lots of trophies in the background. Dave gives out the best trophies, and those are probably the ones you won, right, Dave?
Hey, this is my own personal trophy room. I said I might as well use that as the backdrop.
I like it.
House here, so yeah, it's my whole little. I got a whole array of these things here.
That's nice.
Big trophies and all that stuff. So yeah,
Hey, Dave, quickly, how important is a trophy, especially to somebody who wins their first one? Tell me.
Listen, I can only speak for my generation. I wanted to feel like I was a somebody because my entire life I felt like a nobody. So
why is that? So why is that? Does that stem from childhood and when you started with training?
It's just a self-esteem issue as you're growing up. It can be tough on some. It's happened to be tough on me. And it's not like I didn't have a loving parents or good people around me. I just was tough on myself. I really wanted to be better than I was. And anyhow, but back to the trophy question, for me, I always I wanted something that symbolized all the hard work, time, effort, money, everything else I put into it. So for me, I would always pick these contests and have these big trophies. And needless to say, those contests had a lot of competitors in it because I think they wanted to do the same thing. So I ended up.
Hey, Dave, speaking of a lot of competitors, and defenders can vouch for this, as can I, these competitions when you competed in them, there were like, 30, 40 kids, right? It wasn't easy.
Yeah. And first off, I got to shout out to John. John Defendis is a great bodybuilder. He was a huge influence on me. I used to read about him in the magazines, waiting at the bus stop at the YMCA. Right in front of the bus stop was the convenient food mart. So I'd grab a Muscle Digest magazine or something, and I'd read about John and the intensity or insanity. And I realized early on that is how I need to train, because everyone would torture me and tell me I'm overtraining and should be heavy, hard, brief, blah, blah, blah. And I tried that, looked like hell on earth. And then I always wanted to do more, because at first I was doing more because I was training by instinct. And then reading that about John, I said to myself, this is exactly how I thought I should be training. So props to John, man. And the two Johns, there's John Brown and John Defendis. Those are
you dealt with John Brown.
I read about the most. And those are the two guys I emulated as far as wanted to look like and wanted to train like, because those guys trained hard, nonstop, all the way, 3-4 hour workouts, man. It was intense. No cardio needed, because you're working out so hard.
People want to know. You're a man of depth, so I know you don't just throw words around, but what does training hard mean? Like when somebody comes to you and they want to train, and they want to compete. Like I'm good friends with Evan Centopani here. You know Evan. And Evan trained me for a couple of years.
Yeah, for sure.
Evan got me back in shape. I was really sick. And I asked him at the end, and this ties into you. I said, Evan, did I do everything I could? He says, Mike, let me tell you something. Everybody says they want to compete. 98% of the people who start, they don't make it. So that ties into how hard. So how do you translate to a client just how hard you really have to work?
Well, I mean, I'm only as good as my clients' ability to listen to me, their genetics, obviously, and how hard they want to work. And I mean, that's got to come from within. As much as I will, chant and scream at them as they're doing a set, and I'll tell them what to do and when to do if I'm not around. The fact of the matter is, if they don't have that burning desire, if they don't want to win one of those behind me, and they really think about it and breathe it every day and night when they go to bed with hunger pains, and they're making their food, and all their friends and family are going out to dinner, and they have all kinds of energy and all kinds of fun in their life, and you're sitting there miserable. You know what? That's what it takes to win and overall, or to do well and get an IFBB Pro League card. So for me, I had that in me. There was no trainers. There was friends at the gym, and a lot of them were really, really instrumental to my success. I'm very fortunate, very grateful that I grew up in such a great, because there was no gyms back then. It was YMCAs. So we went to the YMCA, and
well, Dave, let me ask you, what kind of timeline? Like, what year did you start? And are you saying there was just nobody around? Like John Defendis had who did he have? What's the crazy guy that trained John? Mahalik, right? You didn't have anybody around you like that?
No, I had people I asked questions to, for sure. I mean, I had some really, really great bodybuilders. One of them was a good friend of mine. I just got off the phone with him yesterday. Is Rick Ciotti out of and Rick went on to business fame too by producing one of the hottest clothing lines of the 80s and 90s, Perfetto. If you remember, Perfetto International was all over the world. So, but I was very, very fortunate because he looked phenomenal. Went out to LA early on in his life, I think 23 or something. Won a couple of contests out there. Was in Muscle and Fitness the whole bit. So that was what I tried to. And I would look at that and I'd say that's what I want to look like. Whether I win a contest or not, I want to look like that, and I want to be as successful as that. So, and I was fortunate
before we jump ahead,
to give me that to give me the time and the friendship that we still have to this day. So, got to say,
before we jump ahead, you were a big kid in high school. The coaches were kind of nonplussed that you didn't want to play football, and you found yourself in the vice principal's office one day in trouble. And how did you get yourself out of that?
Well, okay, we got to go back to the beginning here. I was training for the Teenage Ohio, and it was 1984. I was a senior in high school. And I was, at that time, you really didn't know how to diet. You just basically starved. I ate that tuna cat food that you would buy. You know what I mean? It wasn't cat food literally, but it looked like cat. It was a little 39-cent can of tuna, egg whites, and of all things, grapefruit juice. So it sucked, dude. It was really horrible. But I didn't know how to diet. I just knew if I could go back in time and diet the way you need to diet, I would have been way better. But I could probably train the wrestling team, and they didn't have to starve themselves, and got them in shape and had them win the state championships for all I know. But that was then, and this is now. Anyways, so what I did was I was exhausted. So I would train early in the morning. Some guys at the Y actually opened the Y early at about 5 in the morning. So I'd work out there, go to school, get off of school, work out there, and go home and collapse and eat my crappy food. So I was so dog tired, I would literally fall asleep in class. And I mean, as an adult, it's pretty disrespectful to a teacher to do that. So I understand why they would be pissed. But I always was told by one of the gym teachers wanted me to he was the coach of the football team and wanted me to go after football. First off, I suck. I wasn't that good at anything outside of bodybuilding. I never tried it. Number two, I'll let you down a little tidbit. I had a kidney removed when I was 4 years old.
Really?
So I couldn't play football anyways. Wasn't allowed to. So
hey, was that a congenital problem?
Yeah, it was birth defect. It was birth defect, and there was no blood or anything going through the kidneys. There was massive kidney stones in the right kidney, so they had to remove it literally instantly. Thank God my mom did not let up. Doctors kept dismissing me and putting my antibiotics, and they said, "Nah, there's something wrong with this kid." They gave me an IVP and realized that there was no blood going through the right kidney, and I had to remove it in the next 2 weeks or I'd be dead. So,
Dave, hold on 1 second. I just want to tell that we got a lot of people on now, but some of you are coming up as Facebook user. That means you're opting in from the MTFU site, and at the top of the column, you're going to see a little link you got to hit. When you optimize that, then we can see your name. Because I'd rather not. I know a lot of you. I don't want to address you as Facebook user. Okay, we'd rather be a little more intimate than that. So click on that little thing. We can continue listening to Dave. I'm sorry, Dave.
No, that's okay. So I would be dieting, and I remember one time I was getting ready for the teenager. I was absolutely exhausted, and I was zombied out. We were playing volleyball, and I was in gym class. So I'm standing there like a zombie, basically Walking Dead, and I'm not kidding you. So the volleyball hits me in the head. And of course, God forbid you lose a volleyball a game in gym class. So everyone's screaming at you like, Liberman, what the hell's wrong with you, and this and that. So the gym teacher blows his whistle, drags me aside, says, "What's the problem here?" I said, "I'm just tired. I mean, I don't have the energy to do this. I got a state level bodybuilding contest, but I can promise you this, I will be in much better condition, much better shape. And I feel much better after this weekend because I'll be eating what I want. I'll be able to hit all the volleyballs you want, I promise you." So he says, "Don't worry, Liberman, you won't bruise your pretty body for your beauty contest if you hit the volleyball." So I got really, I always had the energy to get pissed off. It was kind of funny because I had no energy to do anything else. But when it came to getting pissed, I could really go through the ceiling. So I kicked the volleyball, gave him the finger, told him F off, and walked out. So you got basically you had 2 slips you get at homeroom. You either get a pink slip or a blue slip. And I don't know which one, but the pink slip I think was for the counselor. If you're doing poorly in a class, you got to see your counselor. The blue slip is when you're really effed up and you got to go see the vice principal.
Hey Dave, what kind of student were you in the classroom? Did you struggle like me?
Well, let me just, I'll finish the story, but then I'll let you know.
I'm sorry.
So anyways, what happened was I went to the vice principal and everybody was torturing me. Said, "You're going to get, I heard what you did and you're going to get suspended." And my deal with my parents and my aunt who I was living with at the time was like, "Look, I cannot leave school. I had to do well in school. Didn't have to get A's, but I had to do well in school. The minute this bodybuilding took me away from school and I had to miss school is the minute my bodybuilding was over." That's what they said. So I'm like, okay, these are the rules of the road. I gotta abide by them. So went down to the principal's office and vice principal, I'm sorry. And I told him about the situation, how tired I was getting up in the morning. And he goes, wait, hold up, Liberman. You're getting up in the morning to work out and you're living on this. Because that's absolutely amazing. And you're not even doing this for a lettered sport. I said, "No, I'm doing it for a teenage Mr. Ohio bodybuilding contest." Because that's incredible. I can't believe you would do something like that. Tell you what, if you do well, we'll put it on the announcements or something and all that.
Wow.
But, let me know how you did. So I said, "Well, what do I do about gym class?" He said, "Well, you're gonna, don't worry about that. Just go to study hall." I said, "What about the coach?" He goes, "He's an asshole." So the hell.
Really?
So, I'm sorry to swear, but that's what he said. So I'm like, okay, thanks. That's all I need to know. So moral of the story, I ended up winning the teenage Mr. Ohio, and I failed class all the same year. So
was that your first show, Dave?
No, my first show was the Ohio North District. I was it was 1983, and it was height classes, an NPC contest. Height classes, 16, 17-year-old class, 18, 19-year-old class. I'm sorry, no, I was 17 years old, but there was just height classes, no age breakdown. So I got 4th out of 8 people, and I won this trophy. I swear to God, I sat up all night staring at the thing.
Is it in back of you right now?
Yeah, it's a small little. I can show it to you if you want, but it's a small.
I bet you that's your favorite, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of favorites. I have the Mr. Ohio sculpture behind me, also. I've got a lot, but yeah, I mean, if that thing falls apart, I'm refurbishing it because.
Hey, Dave, let me ask you to show it, because I had Mike Francois on here last week, as you know, your good friend, and he showed us his Arnold Classic trophy. So let's see that first trophy.
The first trophy?
Yeah, you know, the first one you won.
Let's see now if I can do this. Going to try to. First trophy's here. That's
there it is.
Teenage Ohio North District. This is the Teenage Mr. Ohio. This is the Mr. Ohio. This is the Washington, D.C. Grand Prix.
Wow.
This is 2nd in Junior Nationals. This is the Collegiate Nationals. This is the Ohio North District, the Midwestern America, the Northern USA. This was the Titan Championships in Wisconsin. And this is 5th place Junior Nationals. So there's a bunch of other stuff, Metropolitan Championships and all that good stuff. So that's Northeast USA. So all that good stuff. So yeah.
That's a lot of hardware.
Yeah, I kept every one of them. It means a lot to me, and so I kept them all. What the hell, you know?
So now you wrote a diet for the vice principal. Didn't you do that? Wasn't that part of it?
So he said, wow, I got a little spare tire. Can you help me out? Can you write me up a diet? I said, sure, but I'm tired. I'll do it after the contest. I can't do anything right now. I'm dead. And he said, yeah, don't worry about it. So anyways, when I won, I actually brought the trophy into the school, and I probably the cockiest thing I've ever done in my life. It's totally unlike me to do it. And the only reason why I did it was so I could go to that gym class and say, hey, I'm sorry, I won't be able to attend gym class today. I'm too busy holding my best in the state bodybuilding award.
That's
so
awesome.
He looked at me, he just won't even look up. He just go to study all Liberman. So I'm like, that's good. But the moral of the story is I won the Teenage Mr. Ohio and I failed gym class, which is kind of interesting. So, but the following year was cool because, I'm sorry, I graduated high school right after that, and then that September I went into the Teenage National Championships, which was in Detroit, and it was great because it was supposed to be in Atlanta, and I could never make it to Atlanta. My piece of shit car would never make it to Atlanta. So, but Detroit was only 150 miles away. I could make it there. So I figured, even if it broke, I could walk to the contest. So
how'd you do in that show, and who won that year?
I was going to tell you all about it. So I go there, and it was just absolutely packed. We're talking Frank Santoriello, or Franco as he goes by now. He won the middleweights and won the overall. Sean Ray came in 2nd.
Wow.
Bob Ciccarello came in 3rd in the heavies. There was no light heavyweight. We were all light heavies, but it was a qualifier for the Junior World Championships in Switzerland. So they just had 2 classes. They had heavyweight, middleweight, and lightweight. That was it. So Bob got 3rd, and Bob Ciccarello, and I got 4th. So I was thrilled. And you could just tell these guys. Actually, Shane DeMora was 17, and he won the lightweights. And a guy named Frank Same placed 2nd, and a guy named Walt Bloom came 3rd. So there was some really good guys that ended up
very good
staying in the NPC, and a lot of them getting professional status. So to this day, that was one of my most memorable things, is to be able to see that, to be able to be a part of that, something so special. And I would read about these teenagers in study hall, and I would just look at that. And these guys were they were my Lee Haney's. They were my Rich Gasparis. They were the people that, I emulated because I was a teenager. And to look at Mr. Olympia was insane because that was something so many light years away. I couldn't fathom it. But looking at these teenagers and how good they were back then, they were really, really, really phenomenal. And so if I could ever get into that position where I could place in the top 5, I'd be thrilled. So in 1983, I placed 4th in the half the state in the Ohio North District, and then I placed 1st in the Teenage Ohio in 84, and then I placed 4th in the country. So I was happy. I went from 4th in the state to 4th in the country in a matter of like a year and a half. So
amazing.
Yeah. So and it just gave me reinforcement that I'm going down the right road, because honestly, I had no idea what road I was going down.
Dave, since you mentioned it, this is a very important question to ask someone like you, being a promoter, a top promoter. what is your take on why there's so few teenage bodybuilders who compete now compared to when you and I competed? There were, 50 in a show sometimes.
Yeah, I think that that it takes longer to build the type of physiques you have now. These guys are really, really big. A lot of these guys, I see what I've seen, like for instance, we had no teenage bodybuilders in this last contest, which is unfair because we're in the middle of a global pandemic. But we did have 3 teenage men's physique. So I see a lot of the younger generation working out. I mean, they're working out. They got abs. They look good. They don't want to have that extreme look, but I think that's just the flavor of this era. They don't want to be that extreme. So we have these divisions that will enable everybody to be able to compete, which is a great thing. So as you and I grew up as just bodybuilders, so we love bodybuilding. We'll always have our heart into the sport of bodybuilding. I always will. But there are other divisions, and there's all other levels of physique development you can showcase your physique in, which is fantastic. I mean, really, it's a very, very good thing for everybody. But yeah, I mean, we still don't have that level of all those teenagers, and I mean, honestly, I think that I can't speak for the young because I'm not young anymore. But when I was younger, I was kind of lost, and I really needed to be involved with something. So for me, bodybuilding was like boot camp for the world. I had to really, I came from a household of morbid obesity, and I knew I was heading down that road, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that if I lifted weights and I worked out hard, I would get better. And I was getting better, and people would give me compliments, and all these things would start rolling in towards me. And it was just amazing because I never thought in a million years I'd get a compliment from anybody, especially regarding my body. So
well, at that point, Dave, let me ask you, you're starting to move. When were you noticed as someone of consideration as far as how good you become? In other words, on a national level, when did somebody finally say, hey, let's take this guy and put him in a magazine or push him?
I have who is now one of my closest friends, Lonnie Teeper.
Oh yeah.
He basically we had a woman in our gym that did really well and was in the magazine. So I asked her, can you introduce me to somebody in the magazine? Because hey, this best guy in the magazine, great writer, awesome MC, this and that. He goes, got to talk to Lonnie Teeper. So she hooks me up. I sent him some of my pictures, of course. And of course, I harangued him. I called him. I said, hey, can I get in the magazine? So he said, listen, we call you. You don't call us, Dave. And I met him at the Arnold Classic. I talked to him for a little bit. And he did a watch out for, which is basically a rising star. And that was pinnacle, absolutely pinnacle. Right just before that, I won the Midwestern America 21. I think I was the youngest guy to win that show. I don't know. But I think I was. So I won the Midwestern America. And I'm working out at the gym, and somebody said, hey, look, you look really good. And I said, oh, thanks. I'm kind of fat now. It was after the show. He goes, no. I saw you at Walden Bookshare, and you're in some magazine. I said, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, you're in Muscular Development. It was a little stamp-sized picture of me winning the Midwestern America. And that was in Muscular Development. It was a real thin magazine, It was kind of like right up there with Strength and Health and all that. So I literally buzzed through my workout, man. I flew through that workout and ran down to the mall and literally bought every copy. I could not believe I was in a magazine. So
you didn't know that was coming?
No, hell no. I had no clue. I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever,
That's cool.
And this is before social media. So
yeah,
you actually had to earn your fame.
Oh yeah.
Competing and winning, and then being at contests where the photographers were there and they liked what they saw and they submit your photo to the magazine. So really,
let me ask you one question here.
Thank for all that, for sure.
This was going to come up, and you may have a take on this. Do you think pro cards, speaking of social media and how hard it was back then, are handed out too easily these days?
I'm one of the few people that don't. And I'll tell you why I don't. There's more people doing this than ever before. And I think you have to funnel these people to somewhere. I always get the question I get is, where do I go from here? If I could critique anything, it's an athlete's mindset that they just don't appreciate the title that they're getting. For instance, I get people all the time say, I'm doing the Liberman. I'm doing Liberman show. I'm doing the Lakewood. I'm doing the Cleveland, whatever it is. They don't even say the natural Northern USA, the natural Ohio. They don't. It's like the title is lost on them. And I know, Mike, I don't know about you and I, but I thought being Mr. Ohio or being Northern USA was a really cool thing.
Oh yeah,
that was something to I still market myself to this day. I get clients all the time that aren't bodybuilders. Of course, they're like, hey, I like the idea that a guy that at one point in his life was the best built man in the state of Ohio, training me and working me out. I think that's a good thing. I'm in good hands, and they're right. So, I think that the more opportunities there are for the athletes, the bigger the sport can grow. And that's the thing. What's sad is when I see those when somebody gets a pro card and it becomes a retirement card. I'd like to see more people use their card and actually compete. But yeah, I don't have any issues with it. I just would like, and then it's another thing too. You got a lot of athletes that, and this is what I'm scared about. I get it. You want to go to a national show and that's cool and everything. And I got friends of mine that promote national shows, so that's fine and dandy. What I don't want to happen is them to go to a national contest and then get beat and then never do it again. I don't want them to burn themselves out. So I set them up realistically. I said, listen, if you want to tell people you're a national athlete and you want to put on your social media, hey, I'm a nationally qualified national athlete, I competed in this and that, fair enough, do it. But if you're going to win, you have to do a reality check. So what I tell people is this: go to the contest you want to go to and see the prejudging, see the finals, and don't be in the 20th row texting your friend. Buy the VIP seats and look at your class and take an honest look and take an unbiased look and say to yourself, can I beat these people or can I not? Or do I need more? The best meals in the world don't taste good if you take them out of the oven too soon. It's just simple as that. So if they're thoroughly cooked, you might have a great meal. So if you take the time to build the physique you need to build to compete at that level, great. Then go into the show. But first thing I want to do is incorporate everybody. Please see the contest. Before I did junior nationals, I went to the junior nationals in '86 and I was shocked. I could not believe how phenomenal all these people were. So I thought I'd never, ever end up going to that. And then 2 years later, I saw the one in '87, which was I think in Toledo, Ohio. And that was phenomenal too. So I went into the '88 one, was my first one. And then I went to the '89.
Was that in Chicago? Was that in Chicago?
Yeah, it was in Chicago. I played.
Well, I was there. Porter-Cottrell.
Yeah, Porter-Cottrell was awesome. And we became friends ever since that day. Great guy. And then it was '89 was in Memphis. And I didn't make the top 15, which was devastating. And then in '90, I placed 9th, and it was in New Orleans. And I think that Robert Rothrock won. I think that second place was Flex Wheeler. Third was Paul DeMeo.
Wow.
I think Mike Francois, who beat me at the Ohio 2 weeks earlier, I ended up beating him. I ended up getting 9th, and he didn't make the top 15. So, I think I got a little tighter, and I don't know if his heart was into it. But trust me when I tell you that was a fluke. Because
I have it up right here. That was 91. DeMeo, LeBron, Gerard Dent, Michael Anthony, and then you.
That was in '91. So in '91, I come back and I made the top 5, which was great because I ended up posing at night. I ended up getting an award, and I ended up being on ESPN, which was a huge goal for me. I always wanted to be on ESPN, and I ended up being on there like 8 times. And then the following year, I placed 2nd in the junior nationals, and that was in '91 was in Red Bank, New Jersey, and then the '92 was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I placed 2nd, got my most improved bodybuilder award as well. And I got 2nd to the overall winner, Ken Castagnoli, who was phenomenal. And I ended up getting a contract with Cybergenics, which was great because I got to travel the world and actually make a living.
Talk about that a little bit, because a lot of guys want to know, how they get sponsorships and what do they do next. And you had that opportunity. So what was that like?
Yeah, I don't know about sponsorship these days. I don't see a lot of, back in the days, God, you would see Muscle Tech giving out all this, and BSN and all these massive companies. When you would hear rumors of the Ronnie Coleman $1 million contracts, and of course, Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, all those guys. So, I don't know if they're doing that anymore. I think that, a lot of it now is people just taking their titles and marketing themselves with their own products and whatever, and their own YouTube channels and stuff like that. So, but back in those days, that wasn't the case. You were hoping that a company would discover you, I guess. So what happened was I got the Most Improved Bodybuilder Award by Cybergenics. So I wrote him a letter saying, thank you so much for the award. I appreciate it. And it was on ESPN, and I did a little interview there. And I said, I'm looking for a company to be a part of great products. Would you consider me? And they said, yeah. So I met him in New Jersey. Wow. And they gave me a contract. I gave it back to my attorney, and he said, yeah, you're a fool not to sign this. And I ended up working, basically making appearances, but they gave me a lot of the military bases, and I ended up selling the product. They realized I could sell. So I moved a lot of product, and they were really happy. And the managers of the stores were really happy. So they said, we just want Liberman moving forward. And that's no disrespect to anybody, but they just what they wanted. So they ended up giving me the military contract, which was great. So I went all over the world. I'm talking Okinawa, Korea, Japan, Germany multiple times. I mean, we're talking like for months at a clip. So I'd come back and like, there'd be stores that I never saw before, houses painted a different color and stuff. So
hey Dave, when you traveled like that, was it hard to stay in shape? Because you had to stay in shape.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you said that because I missed a lot of sightseeing because I wanted to stay in shape. So I would always work out. I mean, everyone was going to, they were going to, I think it was, I was in Switzerland. And anyways, they were going to one of these Yugoslavia, I think it was Yugoslavia, or one of these places where they were going to get all this gold and chocolate and all this cool stuff. And I said, no, I got to work out. So I missed it. And I regret it now. I wish I would have taken some time and one workout wouldn't have killed me and I would have seen some things I would have never seen, but I had to work out and I had to eat clean. And I would take taxis wherever I would go to get to the gym that I needed. There was one time where I just absolutely needed a hack squat and I couldn't find one. And I found 3 gyms. Finally, I found one in Germany that had a hack squat. So that was the gym. And I spent $70 on the taxi just to get to the gyms.
Well, you figure Hackenschmidt was from Germany. He developed the hack squat, so it should have been there anyhow.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of them was fitness centers, but I found this great, really cool gym called Larry's Gym, and I think Marcus Rule ended up buying it later. So, anyways,
Dave, part of your success is your passion, your energy. I feel it. I almost want to go work out listening to you. But something else, I think, your success, something you did, and you mentioned it a couple of times, and you don't really see enough people doing that now, is you called Lonnie Tieper, hey, man, help me, or put me in a magazine, and you called Cybergenics, hey, will you give me a job? Both times it bore fruit. Whereas too many guys now, you just mentioned a lot of pros or athletes, they take it upon themselves to market and hustle. You see enough of that, do you? They're just sitting there waiting for it to come. You didn't do that.
No, honestly, you can't do that. If you wait for the phone to ring, you got a long wait. You really got to put it out there. And again, there was no YouTube channels, there was no Facebook, Instagrams, Twitters, none of that stuff back then. So it was really on you. And I thought it was interesting because people would always think that I was, I was in the money. I'm on TV now. I'm in magazines, so things must be going great. It's like, well, you got to understand, I actually fly myself out to LA for those photo shoots. Wow. And what you get in the magazines, and then you can market yourself accordingly by getting these contracts and getting guest posing appearances and all that. But or clients to train. At the time, there really wasn't any of that either. That started back in like 88, 89. And once I got done traveling with Cybergenics, I built up my personal training business right around 96. Was it? So, anyways, yeah. So you can't wait for the phone to ring. You gotta work hard and you gotta hustle. Simple as that.
All the way through, as you started to get successful, like I always use the Rich Gaspari example. I was out training with him and he gave a great interview where he was a student at Rutgers doing real well. He was pre-med and his parents were so proud. And then he was very early, he won the universe at 20 or something.
21.
His parents, yeah, 21. He said, I'm going to California. I'm leaving school. And they were like, and he said, look, if it doesn't pan out, I'll come back in a year. But, it panned out. So he was lucky. Were your parents worried that you were on an errant path, or did they support you after you started getting some success?
It was interesting because I graduated high school and I went to college and I got a communications degree, but I didn't get my 4-year bachelor's degree, and I could have because I was literally training the president of Lake Erie College, and he said, you got to come to our school and this and that. I said, listen, I've got this opportunity to travel the world, and I think your school's not going anywhere, but these opportunities will. So I really need to take advantage of this. And this is a unique door that's opened up in my life, and I want to walk through it because if there's a way I can make a living at this and actually do well, I want to try it. And if it doesn't work, the school's not going anywhere. So that's what I did, and I don't regret it. I'm fortunate that it worked out for me, but I worked very hard. Whenever I competed, I trained like my life depended on it, because it really honestly did, because this is all I wanted to do. So
yeah, you were like we put that picture up of you. I think you were 18, and there was an older picture of you later on, of course. But at 18, Jesus, you were built like you were trained, like you were 30 years old. I mean, you were really you showed a lot at a young age.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I worked, like I said, I worked hard. I was really kind of an outcast, let's tell you the truth. I was very awkward and couldn't say 2 words, quite shy at the time. So for me, working out just was kind of like, it gave me I guess it gave me, what's the word? An identity. It gave me an identity that I wanted to, some people go down the wrong road. They join gangs, they get involved with drugs and alcohol, this and that. and I got involved with something really that I thought was really cool and unique, and that I happened to be good at. For the first time in my life, I found something that I seemed to excel in and that I liked. So I wanted to ride that wave until it hit the beach. And fortunately, I don't see much yet.
It seems to be, it's easy to be successful but unfulfilled, but to have them both, success with fulfillment, then you know you're on the right track. It looks like your last show, and you won it, the DC Amateur Grand Prix in the NPC 1992. Was that the end for you?
Yeah, I won that, and there were some really good guys in there. There was I think Paul Harvey got second, and he ended up winning the team nationals. And I think Chris Welch got third.
Yep.
Chris was a Teenage USA champion, and Amin Allah, who's like a guru, really bright guy. He won lightweights. He was a teenager. I kept telling him, you got to go to team nationals, and unfortunately he never went. But I thought he would have done really well if he did. But and to this day, I run into some of these guys. It's especially Amin, and it's cool. It's cool to reminisce, and I picked that show because three things. Number one, I'm from the Baltimore area. I was born there, so my family could see me, and they haven't seen me in 15 years. Number two, it was a national qualifier, and J.M. Mannion was going to be there. So even if I didn't do well at the junior nationals later, I knew if I won that contest, J.M. would have a picture of me winning it in Flex magazine and the NPC News. And I really wanted to get as much publicity as I can, because I figured, well, then the diet's worth it. If I didn't do well at the national, at least I got in the magazine as at least another title. And number three, I got that giant trophy that I just showed you minutes ago. So, and I wanted that trophy. I used to see that trophy in the NPC News, and I'd be like, God, that would be so cool to have in my room. So that was the three reasons. So I picked that contest, and it was a really good contest too. It was in the, if you won that contest, you were pretty good. I remember a guy named Eric Eckenrode won that. It was really good. It was really popular with the women too. The names escape me, but they were really, really good. And anyways, that was a great contest.
Well, you won the collegiate nationals, which was not easy. And I always I missed competing in that, but at that point, I mean, that's a national show, and you were the overall winner. Did you think about trying to go to the nationals or becoming an IPB pro, or did like Joe Weider ever recognize you or anything like that?
I'll give you a little bit of tidbit. The guy that was just on, John Defendis, he was the MC for that night. So he was the MC for my collegiate nationals. But anyways, I didn't expect to win the collegiate nationals. What happened was there was a guy that was competing for the Mr. Ohio. I got second to Mike Francois in the Mr. Ohio in 1990. It's the first time I ever placed second in a men's contest ever. So I got it from him, and listen, if I'm going to get second, that's the guy to get second to, because the guy was just a beast from even back in those days. He was phenomenal.
Was he far ahead?
I was wrapping mine up. So that just goes to show you how incredible it was. Anyhow, so I got second in that contest, and I wanted to come back and win the Mr. Ohio. That was a goal of mine for sure. And then I saw this guy, Wayne Sabin. Wayne Sabin was his name, friend of mine, and he looked phenomenal. And I'm like, oh God! And I remember him winning his class in the '86 Ohio and light heavies. I go, he's gonna wipe my butt with his physique. He's unbelievable. So I'm like, what do I do here? And a friend of mine said, you should do the collegiate nationals. So just in case you get wiped at the Ohio, you could possibly win that. I said, well, I am in college. So I called the promoter up. The promoter said, yeah, come on down. I came down there, and I was just hoping to win my class or place. I think it was a national show, so whatever I do. So when I won, I was absolutely floored. And I remember winning, and it was late at night. I went up. This is in West Palm Beach, Florida, by the way. So I went back upstairs. I was there by myself, mind you. There was no tanning companies back then. So in order to put the tan on, I had to hire.
Wait, Dave, you didn't have any family, friends, parents?
No. I was by myself, dude. I was solo. So I flew down there. I didn't have anybody to put the tanning on my back, so I hired this guy who would help me with the bags. And I said, listen, I'll give you $20. Can you put this tan on my back? And he thought I was being, weirdo. And I'm like, listen, trust me, I'm on the up and up. I just want you to put this tan on me. I'm doing this contest. You got all these people here. You see what's going on. So he did it, thank goodness, or else I would have had a white back. So that was a scoop. But I remember winning the contest, getting done. All the restaurants were closed, and I had to win the Ohio. I had the Ohio 2 weeks later, and then the junior nationals 2 weeks after that. So I would give myself one cheat meal, and fortunately they had room service. So called room service. They gave me some good food, and I'm calling all my friends, literally waking them up at night, because it's like by this time it's like 12:30 midnight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, I won the show. Can you believe it? So, anyways, that was a game changer for me. Winning that contest really. I mean, I couldn't believe I won a national contest. Now the pressure's on, because now I got to really win the Ohio. Otherwise, I would feel that title would be, you're only as good as your last contest, so they say. So, and then fortunately I did win the Ohio. So worked out, thank goodness. Thank
So
you.
at that point, so let's just get you got into other endeavors, or you weren't interested in going for, a higher level, or, a world
Well, I mean,
championship.
honestly, I was tapped out. To tell you the God's truth, I think there were so many great guys then. I mean, I saw the guys that I was competing. This is the junior nationals, mind you. I had Kevin Veroni. I had Paul DeMeo, the late Paul DeMeo. I had Gerard Denti. I had Flex Wheeler was in my class one time. Mike Francois. I mean, just these guys were just. If you won the nationals, dude, you were almost a shoo-in to win the Night of Champions. In which case, you were probably going to make the top 10 at the Olympia. You were really that good. So for me, I always was never delusional. I never thought to myself, I'm going to get a pro card, or I'm going to. I realized that my genetics were probably at a maximum hit. And then when I got the CyberJames contract, I realized that opportunity, the contests aren't going anywhere, but the opportunity will go somewhere if I don't walk through the door when it's open. And I did, and I don't regret a second of it. And I was thinking about going back into competition, and a lot of things happened. I mean, number one, I guess I have one kidney. I ended up coming up with some really bad kidney stones. So that was and I mean, it was fairly threatening to my life, because there were 15.
Yeah.
I had to get like literally 4 surgeries over that. My
Wow.
aunt was dying of cancer. My aunt was like a second mom to me. I lived with her a little bit towards my towards the end of my high school career, and she was the one who bought me my first weight set, and she was dying of lung cancer. And everyone told her to quit smoking, and unfortunately she never did. And when she did, it was too late. So I was living with the girl at the time, and she wanted me to pursue other avenues and to clean my life up. And I thought to myself, this really makes sense. I got to do a U-turn with my life, because I think I've done everything I could. And I'm glad that I did. You ever see the movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke? You ever see that movie? That movie was really tear-jerking for me. I actually shed a couple of tears, because that could have been me on a bodybuilding level. And this is no knock on bodybuilding. This is just, you got to have an exit plan. You got to realize, look, I competed for 10 years. From the time I was 17 to 27. I did everything I could. I made a living at it. I took the money that I made from my contract and I put it down in a house. I didn't buy a Corvette or anything that was going to depreciate and be here today and go. I bought my townhouse, and to this day I live in it, and I have a roof over my head for the rest of my life because of that. So, and it was just time to make a solid decision with my life. And I'm glad that I did. And that's when, I started my personal training business back in Cleveland. And then I ended up having the unique opportunity. I was emceeing some contests. And one of the contests I was emceeing, my future co-promoter was—
Hey, Dave, you're one of the best talkers I've had on here, man.
Oh, thanks. Sorry.
You got it in a good way. You got it together.
Yeah. So I met my co-promoter who I was emceeing his contest, and I always send him a thank you list. I appreciate the opportunity. I hope to MC your show next year. And he said, you know what, I'm not going to do it next year. My co-promoter is bailing on me unless you want to do it with me. And I said, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And that's literally how I ended up doing it. So it was almost like finding a winning lottery ticket and picking it up and going, here you go. So, and then it's been gangbusters ever since. We ended up doing one contest together, and we changed the name from the Ohio Governor's Cup to the NPC Natural Northern USA. The gentleman that was doing the Natural Ohio no longer wanted to do it. So we purchased that from him, and we have 2 shows, and we have it every 6 months. So we have it literally last weekend in March, first weekend in April, depending on where Easter is, because we're not going to have it on Easter. And then we have it the first weekend in October. So every 6 months, it works out great, because you can start your diet right after the holidays, and then you can enjoy, typically Easter, Memorial Day, the 4th of July. Then you can start your diet again, and then you can, and then you're done. So it'll be cool.
Dave, instead of getting into before we get into the present state of your contest and contests in general with COVID and all that, let me ask you, because I hear this across the board. What makes you so good as a promoter? Probably one of the premier promoters. And why do so many? I never hear anything bad. Everybody raves about the shows you run.
Thank you.
We talk about how colossal. Not that you want medals or anything. How colossal an effort it is to put something together that comes together.
Well, first off, thank you for that. I don't see that in me, but I do appreciate the accolades and the kind words. Thank you. I got to mention right now that I could not do this without my co-promoter, Todd Pember, who was the one who not only got me involved with this by letting me getting involved with his contest, but backs me on a lot of expenditures that we do, you know, and I always work hard to prove that I was correct in my investments with the shows and all we do, and it's been proven to be great even in times of pandemics. But I want to give him all the credit in the world, because he's the man behind the scenes that works really, really hard, and he has his whole family involved. So his whole family's doing, his wife, his kids, everything. So really appreciate that. So, I mean, you know, honestly, I think it's because I have roots in the sport. I know what it's like to compete. So I want to give the same type of experience that I would have liked to have experienced. It's as simple as that. You ever watch the Karate Kid, the original Karate Kid?
Yeah.
Well, he hires this guy to Mr. Miyagi to help him defend himself. So Miyagi says, okay, I'll work with you. I'll help you out. You're gonna paint my fence and wax my car. So he's waxing his car and he's painting his fence, you know, and he doesn't know why he's doing this. And finally, he gets pissed. Like, you got the best fence and cleanest car in town. What's the deal? And then he proves to him he improved the guy's reflexes so he could defend himself, so he could, you know, swap off people's, that is, they're trying to hit him.
Wax on, wax off.
So in other words, I think all those years I was competing, I was, as much as I relished the titles and was looking, and that's what my goal was, indirectly I was learning about bodybuilding contests and what flies and what doesn't fly, what turned me on, what turned me off, and I just incorporate that in that. So I think that is the main thing, because I still have that idea in my head. I know what it's like to stare at a trophy all night long after you're done eating and you got a belly full of pizza that you haven't had in 3 months. I know what it's like to go to sleep starving. You know, I know what it's like to do cardio to the point where you just, you know, you can barely move.
Dave, so, I've got to say something about you. When you talk, it's like I'm there.
Oh.
You're very good at creating a picturesqueness, which connotes that you don't even believe this. You know this. This is who you are. This is what you are. And that's why you're on here. You're so successful. But here's an important question. What does your average competitor want out of a show? What do they want? What do they expect?
Well, I can't believe that this, even though it's a new era and it's people change and there's different likes and dislikes, and we like different music now and different movies now and all this. At the end of the day, I think it all comes down to trying to be better than you were. And if you can make people feel like they're special because you want to be special, that's why you're doing this. You're trying to improve yourself and trying to make yourself look better than you did before and get rewarded for it. If you don't lose sight of that, you're going to put on a great contest and you're going to cater to these athletes. And I think that's what we try to do. I mean, I guess that's the only way to do it. I don't think that psyche ever changes. And I look at my contests, I try to promote my contest like I would a marathon. And I know, and to just hear me out for a second, I think the idea is that everybody that competes in a marathon knows damn well they are not going to win that marathon, but they want to do it. They want to do it because it is an incredible accomplishment to walk, run, crawl 26 miles. And I think that you look at bodybuilding, and if you present bodybuilding, oh, that's just getting on that stage, especially in 2020, which was such a damn mess for everybody in the world, you know, you're a rock star, man. You are a real, true life rock star, because we all know how hard it is to stay on a diet. And we all know how hard it is to work out when you don't feel like it. And we know how hard it is to just bypass that party or that night out with your wife or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever. So we all know how it is. So to me, I think that as long as we don't lose sight of that, I think you're going to be a good promoter, and I think that the athletes are going to appreciate you. And that's what it seems like to me. So if there's any type of secret, and I don't think there is outside of hard work and a lot of tenacity on the promoter's part, I think that's what it is. I think just never losing sight of that, because coming from a bodybuilding background, and even my co-promoter, he competed as a teenager, so he knows what it's like to do all this and put your life on hold to do this.
Maybe you could address this question now. How does one become a promoter? How does this occur? Thank you in advance.
I would talk to your NPC chairman and see, you know, if there's any slots. A lot of times there's not, because, you know, you oversaturate the industry with too many shows. Guess what? You know, you have a few people in the contest. So I got to give a shout out to my state chairman, NPC chairman Rick Bayardi. He's fantastic, personal friend of mine. He runs the best expediting team in the world. He's down there at the NPC Nationals right now as we talk, running that contest. He's been running the Olympia. So he's the best in the world, and he gets it. He was a former competitor himself. He's a promoter himself. He won the lightweight class or bantamweight class, I'm sorry, in the Junior USA. So we've all been there and done that. And it's great. I look down at the judging panel. I see the same thing. I see all my judges. They've all been there and done it. They know what it's like to lose. They know that sting, and they know the elated feeling of winning. And so they know how important it is to get that right. And with his A team and the Ohio team, you just can't lose. The quality of the Ohio, and I mean all Ohio contests, are just through the roof. And I have Rick Bayorty to thank for that, honestly.
That's great. It's a real hotbed. They're a very tough state, and I'll mention a couple of guys in a second. You do train people. One question from me and one question from a member here. Do you have any specific training philosophy or diet scheme or anything like that? And this fellow asks, is there any truth to blood type and diets, if you have any knowledge about that?
No, I mean, I always tell people, listen to their coach. Well, the problem that remains is there's many ways to get from point A to point B. Okay, so you can say to yourself, I'm not going to have any carbs. I'm going to have some fats, and I'm going to keep my protein sky high. Fair enough. And if you do it and your metabolism is just, you'll be fine. And then you could say to yourself, like me, I'm an old school guy, so I do high complex carbs, moderate protein, next to nothing when it comes to fats. And it worked for me, and it always has. So the problem remains is that when it gets tough, you get insecure and you ask somebody else, hey, my coach has got me doing this, that, and the other thing. You know, what do you think I should do? And then the other person, who's typically another coach that wouldn't mind having your business, tells you the opposite. Says, oh, you're doing it all wrong, or oh, he's old school, or this and that and the other thing. And that's when you're insecure. You're like, oh my God, I'm blowing it. Oh my God, I got to listen to this guy. He trains this person, that person. And that's where the trouble happens. So my one advice to everybody is there's a lot of ways. You got to figure it out for yourself. Some people like high reps. Some people like low reps. Some people like the Dorian Yates, after a couple of warm-ups, they do one big set. Some people do volume training like myself because it works for me. So, you just got to figure that stuff out for yourself. I really don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I honestly don't. And I think what happens also is that people look for the easier route. They do it and they can win, but they go, God, I killed myself and I shouldn't be doing that. I should be doing this because they can eat cheeseburgers, whatever. And then they try it and they fall on their face. So, I'll tell you a funny story. Okay. And I know I'm full of stories here, but this is
good
because people look, I get this all the time. Was like, hey, this person got a refeed. This person's got this giant cheeseburger and they're eating it on their Instagram. And you're like, I don't get a cheeseburger. How come I don't get a cheeseburger? Well, first off, you're probably not in the same condition they are, number one. Number two, when I was growing up, there was a pro bodybuilder by the name of David Durth. Great guy.
Oh, yeah.
Rest his soul. He no longer is with us, but always admired him. And in fact,
Dave's been on. Dave's a friend.
When I won the Mr. Ohio, he won in '85. I won in '91. He was in the audience. I had him hold up my hand, and I got a picture with him and I. So, he meant the world to me. So, anyways, I'm dieting for a contest, and I happen to be sitting in a local contest in Cleveland, and he's sitting next to me, and we're both, and I'm literally, once again, I'm falling asleep because I'm tired. He goes, well, anyways, let me back up.
Please.
He's getting ready for the Nationals. It's a week before the Nationals. I see him guest post at a contest in Cleveland. And it's a week before, and he's walking in drinking a Frosty, a Wendy's Frosty, which is a milkshake, okay? And all a week before the Nationals. And I knew the guy had to get down to middleweights. And I said, oh, you're not doing the Nationals anymore? He goes, yeah, I'm doing the Nationals. I said, what are you doing with that? He goes, oh, this is my last one. This is the absolute. I got to get serious now. I'm like, you're drinking a Frosty a week before the men's Nationals. Yeah, I know. This is my last one, though. This is it. So he throws it away. Yeah, you can hear it slurping, by the way. And then he throws it away. He takes his pants off, his shirt off. He starts posing on stage. He's shredded, head to toe, ripped to the bone, left his skin at home, hamstrings like you wouldn't believe, every single knot. And I'm like, how did he do it? He's got some sort of magic supplement or drug or something. What did he do? How did he do this? So it tortured me. It tortured me because all my diets I had to suffer, and I knew not to be stupid enough.
Hey Dave, I feel like I'm there again the way you described it.
So I couldn't eat this. There's no way I'd ever do that. So fast forward, I'm getting ready for my show like a year later. I'm falling asleep at this contest, and he's like, "Liberman, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm tired." I go, "Some of us really have to diet for shows, Dave." He goes, "What's that supposed to mean?" I said, "I got to really diet. I can't have Frosties and stuff." He goes, "I don't have Frosties." I'm like, "Yeah, you do." I said, "You had a Frosty right before you guest posed." He goes, oh, that. And he laughs. He's got a smirk on his face. I'm like, "What?" And he said, Dave, I'm an asshole. I'm sorry. I do that all the time. I buy a Frosty, I throw it out to put water in it and just to torture people.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, well, it worked. You know, I thought about that Frosty, you know, every night of my diet. I kept thinking to myself, I could have a Frosty if I could find out what Dave Dirt's doing, you know? But I mean, you know, he said he would go in there and eat candy bars and then spit it out and walk to the bathroom, spit it out. So he would just do that to mess with people's minds, which it worked. So I always tell people, I go, be leery. Don't let that fancy paint job fool you. Okay. I mean, they might be eating that cheeseburger. Who knows if they are, who knows if they're not. I don't know, you know, but I know that if you eat that cheeseburger, you're not going to look very good. So, you know, it's up to you. You're grown adults, so do what you want to do.
Okay, first one comment from your friend Carlo Filippone. Carlo's been on. Great to see you, Dave. Great to see you, Dave. One of the hardest working promoters in the NPC period. Ricky and his team are awesome, friendly, personal, 100% on point in all aspects of contest expediting. Whatever you're holding there, Carlo, looks really good. Whatever you
Carlo's, I think, is a chef.
So yeah, he has a big food prep company here.
Yeah, every time I see him, I get hungry. So I am now hungry. So yeah, he's always good to see you, Carlo. Thank you for chiming in. I appreciate it.
Carlo's a good guy.
Sure
new father too, relatively new father.
Congratulations, Carlos. Yeah. And stay healthy, please. Stay healthy.
Always. Dave, training women versus training men. What's the difference?
Nothing. It depends what they're training for. You know, obviously bodybuilders are going to be doing more volume and all that. And with women, they're going to be doing a little less. The goal isn't to put on tons and tons and tons of muscle, although you certainly want some nice shape to you. So that there's a difference in physiques, but I mean, as far as a diet's a diet, you know. And if you're and the only thing is that if you're getting too ripped, there's a real easy solution for that one. You know, if you ever get too ripped, guys, just go out to eat with me once. We'll end that real quick. We'll solve the problem.
I can go for that. Carlos says the chicken pound. You got it, bud.
All right.
Something with chicken, yeah. So Dave, at this point right now, what's going on with the contests and COVID? We discussed that a little before we went on.
Oh man. First off, I just found out that they're moving the Olympia to Orlando. And
yeah, I want you to address Dan Solomon. Yeah.
Jake Wood and Dan Solomon and his team are friggin' rock stars. Like they're the Rolling Stones, dude. I'm not kidding you. I mean, to do that at literally at 5 weeks out and to get this curveball thrown at him, it's exactly what happened to me, but such on a much smaller scale because I put an NBC regional contest versus the Olympia. But I tell you what, man, it was a monumental task for me to, you know, we get the call from Cleveland Public Auditorium, which is the same place that speaking of Rolling Stones, the Rolling Stones have played there, the Beatles have played there. It's one of the most iconic venues in the state of Ohio and in Cleveland. So it's a city-run event. And I kept asking him, I said, are we going to be okay? We're going to, yeah, so far. I said, I need an answer to this right now. And it got to the point where I was actually going to go over to the mayor's house. I mean, he wouldn't have liked it, but I would have knocked on the door. So I need to know what's going on here. I actually got his address. And then fortunately, they got back to me the day before and they said, Dave, we are closed for the rest of the year. So at that point, my heart sank and I'm like, oh God, because everything was shut down in the spring. We had a spring contest that we postponed from March till June 13th. And the pandemic was raging at that point. So we eventually just had to say, look, we're going to postpone that till 2021, which is coming up March 27th. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so we had to scramble. And fortunately for my awesome co-promoter, our first contest ever was at Lorraine Palace Theater. And that was outside of Cleveland. We knew we had to get it away from Cleveland because Cleveland wasn't going to be doing anything. And they said, as long as we abide by the COVID regulations, we can do it. And, you know, listen, we're not about to risk our health or anybody else's health to have a bodybuilding contest or anything else. So we went the distance. I mean, we separated the pre-judging from men's pre-judging and a women's pre-judging. We allowed an X amount of people in there. The athletes were separated from the audience, at least as best as we could. We had vendors, but they were all socially distant. We couldn't have our huge expo with 100 booths, but we certainly had a good 15 of them there that were great. And I have to do a shout out to my title sponsor, Muscle Vodka here, because she has Muscle Sanitizer. So not only did she pay us for the sponsorship, but she also supplied the sanitizer to keep everybody healthy and safe, and she did it for free. So she gave it to us, and we sprayed everything down in between every prejudging and every finals. and backstage and booths and everything. We sprayed the hell out of it. So to the best of my knowledge, nobody got sick, thank God. So and you know, the plan is, as it stands now, we're going back to Cleveland. However, we heard a lot of really good feedback from Lorraine. So if Cleveland doesn't open and we don't hear anything from them, and to be quite honest with you, we haven't heard any from them yet. So that's not a good sign. We have a backup with Lorraine, and we are looking at a few other venues that could possibly hold all our vendors. But we definitely have Lorraine secured just in case. So,
hey, Dave, a question. You usually have up to 100, and I've seen your setup. It's really profound.
Thank you.
100 sponsors, you got to drop down to 15. How do you choose who gets in?
Well, we have our oldest ones, obviously seniority counts, and of course sponsorship levels, and we call them all. And we said, look, here's where it comes down. And I got a huge shout out to all of them. Honestly, they were so patient. And I think they realize it's like, look, this is a global pen. This is nothing anybody ever predicted. So I love every one of you. You're going to get every penny's worth plus more. And by the way, for this last contest, we had their logos all over our entries and posters. We had a pay-per-view. Their logos were on the pay-per-view. We showed their commercials. So, and we did that for free. So you actually got an extra promotion for that. So really, you know, we're doing everything we possibly can to keep those guys happy. And we hope we're doing our best. And we will. If we end up going to Lorraine and we end up in the same position, we're going to try to figure something out to get a few more boosts in there. But yeah, if that happens, we're going to certainly move the expo once again to our October contest. Now, I do feel, and I'm not a virologist, and I'm certainly not a scientist or a doctor, but I do feel that there's a vaccine coming. So my guess is that March might be tough, but I think in the fall we're going to be rocking. I think this fall is going to be unbelievable. I'm talking about 2021 fall is going to be absolutely unbelievable.
I agree.
So if that's the case, we're just going to pick up exactly where we left off. It's as simple as that.
Dave, you hire only the best guest posers. You've had the best bodybuilders in the world. You've had Mr. Olympias. I don't know, maybe the only guy who gets more is Mannion when he has every single top 10 IFBB guy come and guest pose. But what are your experiences? How does that work out usually? Is that a good draw for the contests, or, you know, bringing in?
It honestly depends who you get. I mean, you get Jay Cutler, it's a home run. It's a home run. He is like the Pied Piper. He will bring people through the door. We've had, back in the day, we've had Dana Lynn Bailey and Rob Bailey. There were people parking on the lawn. Wow. I mean, I'm not kidding you. It was just absolutely, it was a zoo. So, and those guys are literally the modern day, well, you and I will know this, modern day Corey and Jeff Everson, you know, they're the power couple of the sport. Yeah, I mean, some people do, some people don't. I got to be honest with you. We're getting Jay Cutler in for sure. He's coming. Great. We're very excited to have him. And he's just been a personal friend of mine for forever and a day. And
is that the next show, Dave, that he's coming?
Yeah, the next show, March 27th, is the Natural Ohio Championships. Right,
March 27th.
And by the way, shout out, we're going to have these competitor gym bags for all the athletes, every one of them. And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Redcon One, for all that. They're absolutely fantastic too. So I got to shout out. If I start shouting out all my sponsors, we'll be here all day.
That's why you're here.
Every one of
you provide the epitome of an opportunity for people who are thirsting for that right now. So if you could pick up anybody, you want to let them know how high quality you are and the dates.
I mean, honestly, I sincerely appreciate every one of you. It's just this year has been a bear for everybody. And the good news is that the promotion you're going to get when the dust settles is going to be unfriggin' real. And that's my promise to you. So anyways, yeah, we're getting Jay Cutler in. You know, the more I'm seeing a shift in, because I love having guest posers, but as this pandemic was kind of a punched us all, some of us, it was a knockout punch, fortunately not for us, but it certainly knocked some of our teeth out. You know, guest posers and stuff, as much as I'd love to continue to get them, and we are getting Jay, like I said, but after that, not sure if that's a sound investment or not. So we're going to have to regroup and see, and see just who's available and stuff. I was looking at some of these people that were positive people that are really good, that were like on YouTube. Cass Martin was one of them. Cass Martin was supposed to come the last time, and Cass is great. Her husband's great, and unfortunately, with the pandemic and with us having such a limited amount of seats, there's no reason to get a guest in there when we're limited, because why have a guest? Why have a guest to bring more people to the seats when the seats are going to be filled up with friends and family? So it didn't make any sense. So we postponed her. And I don't even know if she'll be available next fall. But regardless, I mean, we're always going to have a good show. What this pandemic taught me is that these athletes really, really want to compete, and they will do it. And yeah, they love LED screens, and yeah, they love seeing a guest poser, but they're going to come because they want to win. They want to win the nice trophies. They want to get nationally qualified. They want to get some prestige. They want to pump it up on their social media. And I think that's what it really comes down to these days. So as much as I'd love to continue to get these guest posers, that's certainly something I'm strongly considering, and it's certainly something that was great for our contest for years. But I just don't see too many other people doing guest posers, and I don't know if it's just throwing good money after bad. So we'll have to see about that. But Jay's going to be a home run. He always is, and I highly recommend him.
We're talking to one of the best promoters in the land. I have two questions for you. Two questions/statements. Why do you think many years after he last competed, Jay Cutler is still relevant? And you're also known to spend up to $1,000 on one class of trophies. So.
Well, I mean, number one, I think that, we do that because we think it's worth it. We want to get people to have a good experience. The first time I won one of these trophies, I literally had my hand on it on the floor and fell asleep with it, holding it. I mean, I was just elated. I was 19 years old, and I was just absolutely elated. So that's really important to me. So I'll always, as long as I can afford it, I'll always continue with that. And as far as Jay's concerned, Jay works it, man. I mean, Jay just didn't. Again, there's a guy that didn't win 3 Arnold Classics and 4 Mr. Olympias and wait for the phone to ring. And I'm sure the phone did ring, but he's great to his fans. I watched. Listen to this. He was at my contest, and I watched a young kid with his mom walk up to his booth, and the mother looked at the kid and said, "Which one do you want?" And he goes, "I don't know." And she goes, "How much is a photo?" And Jay looked at her and said, "Kids are all free."
Wow.
Kids are free. So, and that's when I said, that's why I'm getting Jay Cutler right there. He's so good to the fans. He's so good. We had Phil Heath. He was fantastic. He was fantastic for the fans. He was great to us. And we've had him multiple times. So, you get a Mr. Olympia, you can't go wrong. And I have a feeling eight's on the way for Phil.
I think so. Hey, Dave, so you took something you love that we love, and it's proliferated into a lifetime endeavor where you use it as a conduit to help many, many people, because you do. And I know you've done some stuff with the Cancer Society, and that's kind of on hold right now, but you do a lot of good things. So you're obviously making a living, but you also realize you got to put into it. You got to cultivate fertile ground in what you do in order for that to pay yourself back. Not too many people think that way.
Well, it's a nonstop thing. It's not something we just whip together 3 months out. Although this last time, after 6 weeks, we had to regroup everything and find a hotel and everything else. But that's a whole different rigmarole, and that was a very unusual case. But yeah, I mean, we start working on the contest literally a year before. I mean, we have our dates already. We're already working. We're already looking. When normal times, we secure a venue up to 3 years out. So we're always constantly trying to give everybody the best time possible. I'm well aware, Mike, that this might be their first contest. And if they have a great experience, they might do this for the rest of their lives. And that's great, because we're talking about a healthy endeavor where they can chart their progress and do the best they like I said before, it's almost like the marathon analogy, where it's like, you're just, not everybody can win, but you can still have a great experience just doing it. And that's the hope. That's what I hope I'm bringing across to the
Dave, how important to you is what people think when they hear your name?
I guess on some level it's very important from a business standpoint, but I try not to get too wrapped up in what people think of me. I just try.
No. I mean you being a man of honor in your reputation. How important is that to you?
Yeah, I mean that's what I hope. I hope that's what people think of me. Sure. I mean it's certainly important. And if I get criticism, as long as there's there's something to hang my hat on, and they give me the criticism with, well, here's what I have an issue with, this and this, and it's something that's relevant, I'll say, yeah, you know what, it's something I need to improve on, and thanks for bringing it to my attention. But yeah, I certainly hope, listen, I don't know what the meaning of life is here. I do know that I want to leave the world a little better place than it was when I got here. So if I can do something, even make somebody feel good for the time being, and that they developed their bodybuilding, and they've learned some great skills and getting their body in shape and staying healthy for the rest of their lives. It was good life. It's good time.
Dave, we're winding on down here a little bit. I mean, we can keep going, but I've got a little speed quiz here that I do at the end. I give you like names, and you just tell me what you think. Names or events. I'll mention the name to you, and you can tell me what you think. Our good friend Joe Toth.
Joe's great. Joe's he won our contest, the Natural Ohio, back in 2012. Awesome bodybuilder, natural guy, ageless and awesome. Man, I wish I looked like him, and he's 50 now. So great guy, and he's a trainer, so he's giving back too. Thank goodness.
He's a good guy. Mike Francois.
Phenomenal bodybuilder. He was the brick wall I ran into at the 1990 Mr. Ohio. So, and I emceed his contest for years. Him and his wife are fantastic people. Really, really, they're not only great. He was not only was a great bodybuilder, he was a great person. He is a great person, and so is his family. He's raising kids and stuff. So,
you guys you remind me of him in that respect. Let me ask you. So he runs a big show also. Do you guys try to align or kind of keep congruency so they don't overlap or anything like that?
Well, again, thanks to our state chairman, we have everything lined up where there's time between things. We're not using the same venues. Where he's in Columbus, which is 150 miles south of me. I'm in Cleveland.
Oh, you're right.
So, yeah, and he does a great job. We've got great promoters. Mike Davies, he puts on the NPC Ohio State Championships. Dean Caputo, Greg Krause, they put on the North Coast. I put on the Natural Northern USA and the Natural Ohio Championships. So, and it's interesting because you got 3 former Mr. Ohio's putting on bodybuilding contests now in Ohio. So that's
great. I've got Dean Caputo scheduled to come on here. I've just got to nail him down.
Good. Yeah. Good guy. In fact, I talked to him today, actually. So he promotes his North Coast contest. I think it's about 4 or 5 weeks after our contest. I think it's typically on Memorial Day weekend, and we do ours right in the beginning of March, about like 3 weeks or so after the Arnold Classic.
Hey, so, Dave, did you know that Dean got his powerhouse gym open at age 18? He's had that long.
Yeah, I think him and his brother built the equipment or something. It was pretty impressive, 19. Bodybuilders Incorporated, I think. Yeah. I think it was called. I know it was called Bodybuilders Unlimited. Bodybuilders Incorporated in Akron, but it was Bodybuilders Unlimited. Yeah, and I think he became.
I remember you as a cybernetics guy. I think he was the DNC guy, right?
He was. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very well known for that. Going back to 1965 up till now, who was your best Mr. Olympia?
Not 19 from 19.
Well, the Olympia started in 65 and it's up to now. So
nothing beats Ronnie Coleman. He was just a freak. I can't imagine anybody. I mean, physically, I'm not talking about, my favorite bodybuilder I've ever known is Jay Cutler. He's just a friend of mine and great guy. Love Phil Heath too. But Ronnie, Jesus, Ronnie, when the guy walked on stage, it was to use his catchphrase, lights out. It was lights out for the vast majority of his career. So, nothing beats. Listen, that's all due respect to Dorian Yates. Yeah. Who's phenomenal. And Lee Haney, the great Lee Haney, a great person as well as a great bodybuilder. Just always giving back. Talk about giving back. An 8-time Mr. Olympia. Lee Haney for that era was just absolutely untouchable. So, so that's kind of my
Dave, also, you being also a person who oversees people's health because you train them. So it is an endeavor of health. What's your take on, and all respect in the world, I love his the Netflix documentary, Ronnie the King and all that. But you look at Ronnie now, what do you think about the culmination of how he's really in bad physical shape now? Do you think it was worth it? To him, apparently it was, but
you know what? You just answered the question. Because it doesn't matter what I think.
That's true.
If him he thought it was, then he's happy. I mean, I tell my clients two things. You got to be two things. You got to be healthy, and I want you to be happy. If you can do those two things, then compete. If you're going to sit there and bitch up a storm, or if things don't go your way, or you're going to blame everybody and judges and trainers and this and that, then don't compete. You're going to be a miserable person. So, I mean, I hope that I wish the best of health and success for Ronnie. I mean, he's iconic legend of legends, to tell you the truth. But I can never ever, what's the word I'm looking for? I can never gauge somebody's happiness. If somebody says they're happy and I won all these Olympias, or I won this and that, then they're happy, and that's the main thing.
Best promoter ever, not including you.
Best regional promoter ever. I believe I don't know everybody who ever promoted anything, and this is all due respect because everybody's great. But my personal best is Brad and Elaine Craig. They do the Emerald Cup, and they're fantastic.
Oh yeah,
absolutely fantastic. You know, and I mean, just I went up there and witnessed it myself, and those guys they do it right.
Is that Seattle, Washington?
It was in Seattle, Washington. Yeah. And
you know what they do? They hire my friend every year, Russ Testo. You know Russ.
Russ is great. Yeah, he guest posed when I won the Mr. Ohio. And by the way, there's a lot of great promoters out there. My friend Lonnie Teeper promotes the West Coast Classic with Chris Minnis. Chris Minnis is fantastic. He helped us get our pay-per-view and all this. So he's been great, and he does.
Doesn't he do the Ferrigno? He does the Ferrigno, right? Doesn't Chris do the Ferrigno? He
used to. I think now it's called Legion. So he does.
Oh, okay.
But he does. He's very cutting edge and great. And then of course you got people like Dan Solomon, Tim Gardner, Gary Udit, Steve Weinberger. I mean, you know, obviously Jim Mannion. I mean, you've got so many great promoters out there. So Jack Tatone. I mean, Tamer and Tarek. You know, from John Lindsay's muscle contest. I mean, you know, there's so many of them out there. I don't want to miss anybody and disrespect anybody because I admire them all. We're all doing the greatest we could, especially in this mess. I mean, you know, who could have ever saw this coming, and we're still getting it done. I mean, I'm telling you, man, the athletes are there, the stages are there, the NPCs jamming and slamming. I am so fortunate I'm involved with this organization, and I'm so fortunate that we're making things work, and I'm so fortunate the athletes more than anything, because there's nothing without the athletes. The athletes.
Hey, run those dates by us again, and any other relevant information for people to know for those two shows.
Yeah, it's okay. It's going to be March 27th. Let me one more time. Shameless plug. March 27th, the Natural Ohio Championships, and October 2nd. Is the Natural Northern USA in 2021. We'll be releasing some information right around December 1st or so in regards to, you know, entries. If you get on my website, which is my name, DaveLiberman.com. Now it's spelled the way you see it on there, DaveLiberman. Everyone wants to throw an E next to the I. It's not the case. You won't get me. .com. You'll see all the information. We're trying to update our website now. You know, truthfully, Mike, we're just seeing where this pandemic's going. We're trying to see what's going to happen, but regardless, and my catchphrase is this, and I say this with all due respect: COVID or cure, and hope for a cure. We're going to have the contest. So make no mistake about it. I am never going to shut down a contest again. I mean, you never say never, but I'm telling you right now. You know, we've got a venue, and we've got a backup venue, and we've got our irons in the fire on many places. So we're going to do everything we can to give you the best event, the healthiest experience possible. And Jay Cutler's going to be there. We're going to be there. There's going to be plenty of booths there, and the rest of them are going to be there in healthier times. I promise you, they're going to get their money's worth. You're going to get your money's worth, and we're going to rock and roll. March 27th and October 2nd. Cleveland, Ohio. If it's not in Cleveland, it'll be in the Cleveland area.
Dave, it sounds like an HBO commercial or something in a good way. Really, it's like, it's very enticing. Your resolve is at the forefront. And I want to thank you, because I'm always happy to even be able to talk and be around people like you who are really successful and preeminent, and you help so many people. Because that's what makes me.
Likewise. I mean, the feelings likewise. I mean, appreciate the format, the opportunity. Our contest is our contest again, March 27th in October. There's Natural Northern USA, the Natural Ohio.
What's the October date again?
October 2nd.
And what show is that?
NPC Natural Northern USA. And by the way, I do want to say this. I know people see that, the Natural Northern USA, it's going to be too big or it's too tough for us. Understand something. We have a ton of classes. So we dissipate any big numbers we have, and we always add classes. As an example, we had a True Novice division for bikini. We had like 2 classes of True Novice. That's first time NPC bikini competitors. And guess what? We added a 3rd one at the last minute. You know why? We got those entries in on time. And we're like, you know what? I want more people to get trophies. So we spent the money and we ordered the more tests and we got it done.
What goes in that big bag that you give to every competitor?
Well, the gym bags contain all the. I'm going to show you this real quick. I want to make sure everybody sees this because this is so cool.
I love that.
Nice big old gym bag, and it goes to
everyone. Nice.
And it's and compliments of love Aaron Singerman from
Aaron Singerman.
He's wonderful. Anyways, so and we put our sponsors, of course, Raycon one's in there, but we put our sponsor samples in there and stuff. So it's pretty packed in there, man. They get a lot of goodies, let me tell you. So, and by the way, just with some of the sponsors that couldn't make it, and because of the pandemic and because of the limited booth space, they also got their samples in there for free. That was a free promotion.
Wow.
So we're doing everything we can to keep everybody as happy as possible. We appreciate everybody's patience. We're going to have a rockin' contest. 2020 is going to be a beast. So we're pretty excited about it.
Do you ever take a break for yourself, Dave? Go on vacation? Or I know you're on that jet ski all summer.
Yeah, I try to stay active, honestly. I mean, you know, that was my midlife crisis, Mike. I mean, you know, I started thinking to myself, you know, I dieted half my life away. Not that I stay on a diet Monday through Friday, but Saturday and Sunday, you don't want to know, believe me. But it's pretty intense.
Well, Dave, you still look lean. I mean, obviously training was much more heavy when you were younger, but what do you do for yourself now?
I train 5 days a week. The only cardio I can do, thanks to my rotten knees now, are riding the bike. So I'm kind of in the baby pool when it comes to that. But I still am in the deep end, head first swimming when it comes to working out. I do the best I can. I train 5 days a week, like I said, but not, you know, I can't. I tore my bicep. I had it repaired. I tore it again. I tore my rotator cuff twice. Like I told you, I've got rotten knees. So eventually I'm going to have to get those done. So, you know, I mean, it's just, I'm a scratch and dent bodybuilder at this point. You know, I'm old, 55, man. I'm an old guy. So,
well, your health is good in general, though, right? You have good health.
I mean, my kidney's fine, thank God, and my blood work is fantastic. So, you know, I've got no problems. Just orthopedic stuff. You know, it's just a lot of wear and tear. My car's been punched. What can I tell you? I mean, it worked. You've got
to stay well because so many people depend on you. So everybody listening, anybody who listens to this later, it's March 27th with Jay Cutler as the guest poser. That's a Natural Ohio.
He's going to be guest appearing, and he's going to be doing a free seminar with your prejudging ticket.
Oh, he's not. Did I say guest posing? Right.
Yeah,
no.
I say that too, so don't worry. But no, I wish he would pay him some real money for that. But yeah.
Quick story. I was at a show, probably 1990, and Tom Platz happened to be there emceeing. And there was a misunderstanding. They thought he was supposed to guest pose. They implored him so badly, but he did drop his pants and flex his legs. And this was well after he was done. And he still looked great. But
he did a seminar at our gym in 1985. It was called World Gym at the time. Now it's Titans Gym, which is a great gym. If you're ever in Mentor, Ohio, near Cleveland, come to Titans. You'll love it. Anyways, he did the seminar there, and he dropped his pants and did some poses, and it was off the chain. Absolutely. It was packed. Everybody, this is before YouTube and where you could just see them. But yeah, he was just such a huge inspiration. I'm going to tell you one last story, okay?
Please.
1993 Teenage Nationals. The promoter at the time was Mike Valentino, another former collegiate national himself. He had me guest pose with Porter Cottrell. So I'm backstage, and I see a big kid wearing a pink T. Michael top, and that is Jay Cutler. He wins the class, okay? And then I see another guy, real big legs, fantastic bodybuilder in the light heavies, and that was Branch Warren. And he wins the class, and he wins the overall, right? Years later, they both get second and first at the Olympia. Of course, Jay wins the Olympia, and Branch gets second. I had them both guest pose for years later. So I thought that was ironic.
That's very cool.
And I'll tell you one last little story.
No, go ahead. Let him roll.
So there was a guy in that Teenage Nationals, Caprice Murray, who
Yes.
ended up getting a pro card. He came down with another guy, African-American kid, big kid. And he goes, Dave, I want you to meet my friend. And I'm like, okay. And who's your friend? He goes, hey, he's a natural guy. He's blah, blah, blah. He's a natural organizer. Okay, whatever, fair enough. So he's got this big top on. He goes, hey, you got to see him. So he had this real high top afro, takes his shirt off, does his front lats for him. I'm like, whoa.
Kai Green.
This guy's sick. Yeah. Well, thanks for taking.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm like, this guy's sick. I go, there's no way he's natural. He goes, no, he really is. This and that. So I said, I'm Dave Liberman. He goes, I'm Kai Green. So he wasn't in the show, but he was there supporting Caprice. But I'm like, wow, that like back to the teenage shows back then. That's what got me involved with the shows, and it's memories like that hit home for me, because it's all come full circle. Where now I've contacted them that now that they've gone on to be super pros and top Olympic competitors and all that. So
Facebook user, please identify yourself. You love training with Dave at Titans, but we can't see your name because you're on a different stream. And Carlos says, Kai Green, love the stories, bud. We should get together and share some of these. Only if you cook, Carlo. You got to have some type of smorgasbord laid out for Dave if he's going to do that, I think.
Tell Kai Green I tried to get him 1,000,000 times, called him 1,000 times, and for whatever reasons, he's just busy guy, I guess. But love to have him.
We could come out and guest pose or sign.
Yeah, love to have him. I think he's got other irons in the fire, but I love the guy, and it would be great to see him in Cleveland if at all possible. So yeah.
Carlo, you're very welcome. Back on. Maybe we'll do a little cooking segment. The secrets to getting ripped and cooking and eating with good taste.
Carlos, I'm not much of a cook, but I'm an eater, so you can cook and I think it'd be a good combination.
Oh, it's Shelly Bacon Kellenhofer.
Yeah, she's great. I work with her. She lives in Hawaii now, so hello from Hawaii. And she won my first contest ever back in 1991. She won the Masters bodybuilding, women's bodybuilding, and she's a doll.
She looks really good.
Yeah, thank you.
You know how good she is. She's on my members forum, and I wrote a book. The proceeds benefit local animal haven here. Homeless dogs and cats. And she sent me a check. She sent me a check out of the blue just to support the animals. She only knows me through Pixel. So there's a good person.
She's a very sweet person. She really is a good person. Great bodybuilder, ageless and awesome, and she's just a very sweet person. Absolutely.
You got to get in contact with Carlo because he says, Dave, let's talk about sponsoring your shows next season, bud. So
love to have you on board, Carlos. Believe me, it'd be a pleasure, absolute pleasure. So yeah, for sure. And just send me a Facebook message and phone number, and we'll chat. We'll figure it out. I want to make sure we can get everybody in. And because I got to get all these other sponsors in too, but I definitely want to. We'll do something. I mean, we always do the best we can. We have a nice screen now. We're going to have, so we'll show the commercials for all the sponsors, and the athletes can see themselves on stage, which is really nice. So when you're doing a back double bicep or even bikini competitors, when they're showing when they're doing a rear pose, you can see what you look like next to everybody else. So that's pretty cool. And we'll see. Hopefully this pandemic will be much more under control. So, but if it's not, we'll have the pay-per-view again, like we did. And we're just, it's an ever evolving landscape kind of thing. So we're just doing everything we can to make
any parting thoughts or information, Dave, before we go?
If you need to reach me, you can get me through my website. I'd love to hear from you. I appreciate the opportunity. Again, the website's DaveLiberman.com, DaveLiberman. I'm an easy person to find. I'm at Titans Gym all the time in Mentor, Ohio. There's only one location now, and it's the best location. Believe me, it's a 24-hour fitness center. I know they just had a curfew now in Ohio where we got to be off the streets at like 10, but under normal circumstances, 24-hour fitness center. So if you get a chance, check it out. They got the big Black Friday special, which is going to be awesome. So, don't want to miss that either. So,
Dave, I'm in the moment right now because here I am. To me, you're one of the greatest at what you do. And to be the greatest with 7 billion on the planet, it's almost impossible. So you're among them, and here you are, and I'm experiencing this. I'm being lifted by you, as are all our guests. So I really want to thank you. And like Dave was saying, he's very, very approachable. He's very giving with his time. We get to disseminate this information, which helps you. So avail yourself of anything he has to offer. You can contact him. His website's here. You can go on Facebook Messenger, and he'll respond. And he'll respond nicely and with good information that'll help you. And outstanding interview. Kudos to Mr. Lieberman. We couldn't do it without him. Thanks, Don.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate it. And, I hope to see you. Again, the website should be updated by December 1st, which is coming up, of course. Guys, please stay healthy, stay happy, enjoy the holiday season as much as you can. And I hope to see every single one of you in some form or fashion. Our contest is a natural contest. We're open to all natural competitors from all over the country and beyond. So please come to our show, check it out, meet Jay Cutler, support our sponsors, support the athletes, get on stage. You won't be disappointed. We're going to give you some awesome awards and some great gym bags and the works. We're in the process of
Dave, I swear, I might be pushing it, saying that you almost make me want to don the old pink trunks again, but you'd lose a lot of money, go out of business. It would be bad if I showed up.
That makes one of us. I got to tell you, I get that. Do you want to make a comeback, Dave? And I'm like, listen, man, I'm going to tell you. First off, my body's beat up, man. I'm exactly where I need to be, behind the curtain and not in front anymore. And secondly, I really like food. I mean, I can diet my butt off Monday through Friday. But man, when Saturday, I'm just living for Saturday. I'm telling you, I don't know the pizza I'm going to eat Saturday. I already have it all mapped out. So,
hey Dave, your top competitive weight compared to your weight now?
Well, I mean, the biggest I ever was, when that includes a lot of body fat, I was 265. My competitive weight was 228 when I won the DC Grand Prix, but I was about 90% in shape. I sucked it down to about 223 and a half for the junior nationals. I won the Mr. Ohio at 221 and a half. And 222 and a half, I placed, I'm sorry, 222 and a half, I won the collegiate national. So, I mean, it kind of varied and stuff, I was light heavyweight for a while, because I just over dieted because I always felt that I'd be better off, but in that division, because I'd be at the top of my division instead of with the monsters. Back then there was no super heavyweight class, so it was a much different era, The athletes.
What do you carry today? What do you carry today for body weight?
Now today I was about 215 pounds.
Oh,
so, I like to be around, I look my best at 207, but I've been really bad on my diet. I mean, I always start the day off wonderfully, and then at night I'm grabbing a candy bar or something. So I got to cut it out. And I'd like to, my personal best is to be about 207, 206, and then eat up on the weekends till about 212, 215 kind of. I gain about 10 pounds. It's all water weight. And then I go back down on my diet. So I try to give myself that mental break and all that. And with the holidays coming up next, forget about it. I'm going to try to.
One last question for you, Dave. Are you happy right now? You're happy where you are?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be happier once we're in healthier environment in the world. But yeah, other than the global pandemic, everybody's getting smacked in the face with, I'm happy. I'm in a good place in my life. I'm very, very fortunate that I got to make a living at what I love to do. I got to thank the NPC for that. And I've got to thank Titans Gym for that. And I've got to thank all my clients, sponsors, competitors, my co-promoter, and everybody else, because if it wasn't for them, I'd be welcoming you to Walmart, my friends. So,
well, Dave, me, the competitors, bodybuilding society, we're happy. You are happy and doing well, and you offer what you offer, and you exist. I'm happy you exist. That's a very, very powerful sentence I like to use for certain people. It's good to know you're out there, man. People are quick to say, "Oh, America's #1," and I believe it is, but you don't run into too many people all the time making it that way. So I think you're one of them, and I thank you. So
well, listen, it means a lot. There's a lot of people out there doing a really good job, and I never really try to beat anybody. I just want to be as good as I possibly can, and I do appreciate you saying that, and I do appreciate the time you're spending with me, and going over the good old days, and looking forward to a very, very bright future for everybody. So thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you, Dave. It's done me well, and we've got Lee Prix coming up within the week, so I don't know the exact date and time. So that might be, I got to prepare for that, Dave, as you know. Well, thanks again, Dave, and everybody. You have a good night. You can still put your questions in, and I'm sure Dave will survey this later, and he'll answer as he can. And thanks so much. You have a great night. And Dave, good luck, man. I'll shoot you a note and I'll send you a link.
That'd be great. I'll pump it up. And you guys, again, happy holidays to everybody. Merry Christmas. Stay healthy. Stay happy.